What's going on today, YouTube? Rob here. In today's video, I'm doing a Cyber Dragon deck profile. This is a deck that I've been playing a lot recently that's pretty casual, but does have some competitive elements to the deck. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, consider leaving a like, commenting on what you might want to see next, and subscribe for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it.
Alright guys, let's get into this pretty fun Cyber Dragon deck profile. Kicking things off, we have triple copies of Cyber Dragon Core. This card is one card starter and just really good overall must play in Cyber Dragons. In any build you have to play this at 3 because it lets you add a Cyber Spell or Trap from deck to hand. And then if only your opponent controls a monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard and special summon a Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. You can only use one Cyber Dragon effect per turn and only once that turn. And then this card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while on field or in graveyard. Next up, triple copies of Hertz. This is just another really good card, as it lets you, if this card is special summoned, you can make this card's level become 5 until the end of this turn. It locks you into machine monsters, but this is Cyber Dragons. Your entire extra deck is machine monsters, with the exception of maybe 2 cards. And then if this card is sent sent to the graveyard, doesn't matter from where, you can add a Cyber Dragon from deck or graveyard to hand. So that comes in handy quite a bit. And then we've got triple copies of Naxter. This card is also really good because you can discard a card from your hand and special summon this. And then you can use this effect if it was normal or special summoned to target a machine monster with a 2100 attack or defense in your graveyard and special summon it. And then again, it locks you into machine monsters, but that doesn't really matter. You can only use each effect of Naxter once per turn. It's just really good at reborning some of your bigger monsters and whatnot. Then I have triple copies of Cyber Dragon. Not much to say here. It's just really good going second to be able to special without having to waste normal and just get a decent sized body on the board. Then I am playing double copies of Dre because this does let you make all Cyber Dragon monsters you currently control become level 5, which facilitates your Xyz plays. You can't special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect except machine monsters. Again, doesn't matter. If this card is banished, you can target one Cyber Dragon you control and it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while on field or in graveyard. I'm playing 2 because I just find it works. It doesn't really come up very much for the duels that I've been playing this deck in, so it doesn't really matter. And then lastly, for our monsters, double Galaxy Soldier. Again, this is really amazing because it gives you access to your Xyz plays. You can send one other light monster from your hand or from your hand to the graveyard and special summon this card in defense position. And then when this card is special summoned, you can add one Galaxy monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use the effect of Galaxy Soldier. Use this effect of Galaxy Soldier once per turn. So you can discard a light monster, special summon this. Depending on what you discard, you can use the effects. Grab another Galaxy Soldier, use this effect, special summon, and then go into your Xyz plays, which is really awesome. Moving on to the spells, I'm playing triple copies of Repair Plant. Because pretty much all of your monsters are Cyber Dragons on field or in graveyard, you can get this card to be able to use the second effect to target a light machine monster in your graveyard and shuffle that target into the deck. Along with adding a light machine monster from deck to hand if you have 3 or more Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, which is fantastic and just really good way to recur your resources. Then we have triple copies of Cyber Emergency. Again, this is a Cyber Dragon card, adding a light machine monster that cannot be normal summoned or set, or one Cyber Dragon monster from deck to hand. It's really good. If this effect is negated by opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can discard one card and add this card to your hand, which is also really good. And then you can only use one Cyber Emergency per turn. Again, really good starter to pair off with your core. Then we've got triple copies of Reb System. I really like this card, as it does let you special summon Cyber Dragon from your hand or graveyard, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if you still have your core in graveyard on another turn, you can special summon it and use its effect, or you could do any of the other monsters, as they do become Cyber Dragon while on field or graveyard. And then just continue to go from there. And then we have triple copies of Machine Duplication. Again, another card that really does help push with this deck, because you can use it in conjunction with your core, your Naxter, or your Hertz to target a machine monster with 500 or less attack and special summon up to 2 monsters from your deck with the same name. So because they all become Cyber Dragon while on field or graveyard, you special summon 2 Cyber Dragons, and then right from there you're able to go into Xyz plays, you're able to go into Fusion, you're able to go into Link. Then we've got 1 copy of Cyberload Fusion and 1 copy of Overload Fusion. Overload lets you banish fusion materials from field or graveyard to fusion summon a dark machine monster. And then Cyberload Fusion lets you shuffle those cards back into the deck for the fusion summon of a fusion monster. And then monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn, except that fusion summon monster, which is okay, but at that point you're already kind of going for a game, or you're breaking boards, or it's used as an interruption. I've got 2 copies of Power Bond. Being able to fusion summon a monster from your extra deck by using materials from hand or field, and then doubling its attack is really great for your OTKs. The only downfall is if you haven't OTK'd your opponent, depending on what you summon, you take damage equal to the attack gained from that special summon monster. Usually I like to go into Cyber End Dragon if available onto that, and it's pretty much game from there. Or you go into your Twin Dragon. And then lastly, for spells, we have double copies of Limiter Removal to double the attack of all machine monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. The only downside is at the end of the turn you destroy those monsters. But like I said, if you're using this card, more often than not, you are going for game. So that stipulation does not really matter. And then I do play a small trap package, triple copies of Call of the Haunted. Like I said, this is a fairly casual build with a bit of competitiveness built into it. But Call of the Haunted is just really good at being able to special summon some of your monsters and regain some of their effects, or to be able to summon a big body from your grave. Not much to say about that. And then lastly, for my traps, I have 1 copy of Storming Mirror Force, which turns all of your opponent's monsters face down defense position. Returns them to the hand. It's Quaking Mirror Force that turns them to face down defense position. And then we've got double copies of Mirror Force. I find that these just do end up coming up at times. Again, because I am playing this as a fairly casual build, it is good to have some monster destruction. And then we've got, for our extra deck, 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, which is basically just a contact fuse, and the original attack becomes 1,000 times the number of fusion materials, so, not too bad. Then we've got the 1 Mega Fleet Dragon. This comes up quite a bit depending on what decks you're playing against, because it's 1 Cyber Dragon monster and 1 monster in the extra monster zone that you can use from your opponent's side of the field, which is fantastic. And then the original attack becomes 1,200 times the number of fusion materials to special summon this card. So usually it just goes up to 24. Then we've got 2 copies of Rampage Dragon. This is really good for your OTKs, because once this card is fusion summoned, depending on the number of materials used for it, you can target that many spell and traps on the field and destroy them. And then once per turn, you can send up to 2 light machine monsters from your deck or to the graveyard. And if you do, each monster sent this card gains 1 additional attack during the battle phase this turn. So you can have this thing gain 3 attacks. And at 2,100, depending on what you have as well, you're going for game with this. Then we've got double copies of Twin Dragon and the one copy of Cyber End Dragon to round off our fusions. Twin Dragon can attack twice per turn, which is fantastic, and it's a 2800 body. And then Cyber End Dragon, again, if this attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. This with your Power Bond is fantastic, plus limiter removal, or your Cyber Dragon Seeker, which I'll get into later. And I've got double copies of Nova and double copies of Infinity. Nova lets you detach one material and then target a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard and special summon it. And then once per turn quick effect, you can banish one Cyber Dragon from your hand or face a monster zone, and this card gains 2100 attack until the end of this turn. And then if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Machine Fusion monster from your extra deck. So again, it comes in handy. I usually only use it to detach and special summon, and then from there I go right into Infinity. Once per turn, you can exceed this with Nova, transferring materials, and this gains 200 attack for each material attached to it. And then once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can detach one card and then negate the activation and destroy the card. You can also target a monster on your opponent's field and attach it to this card as material, which is fantastic as well. That's come up quite a bit in the last couple duels that I've had with this deck, just to get some troublesome monsters off the field and go for more OTKs. And then for links, double copies of Seeger. Again, really good card. Lets you target a machine monster on your field and double its attack, basically, which is fantastic. And then, the monster gains 2100 attack, and depending on what you're using it on, it's pretty much just doubling the attack. Also, neither player takes battle damage involving this card if you use the effect, and then you can only use this effect of Seeker once per turn. But again, this comes in handy for your OTKs. And then lastly, we have one copy of Link Rebo and one copy of Almirage. Again, this card's just really good for tributing and lessening your damage, and then because you do have some level 1 monsters, you can normal summon something like Core, use its effect, and then quick effect, you contribute it and special summon your Kuriboh back. And then your Almirage comes in handy sometimes, because you contribute this card and target one monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects this turn. And then when a normal summon monster you control is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Salamangreat Almirage once per turn. And that rounds off our extra deck. Like I said, this is a fairly casual build, but it is really fun. I pretty much, just before doing this, had a duel where I had a pretty crazy board with, I believe it was one Mega Fleet. I think I had a Rampage on the field. Double copies of Infinity, one with 2 materials. I'm just using Nova as an example. And then I had the other one over here with 3 materials. And then I had a Seeger up here. And I think I had something else here with a Mirror Force set and Cyberload Fusion. And at that point, it was already game for the most part. But at that point, my opponent didn't have anything to do. They were playing a Blue Eyes deck, and I Mirror Forced their attack on the Mega Fleet, which was at 2400, and they conceded at that point because I was just gonna go for battle on my next turn. And then I also did end up, my next card would have been limiter removal. So again, a bit overkill. So I'm glad it ended when it ended. And this deck, even though it's kind of rogue at best, is still a really fun and really cool deck to be playing. And I do really enjoy Cyber Dragons. as an archetype, and it's just a fan favorite. But yeah, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Um,
Alright guys, that's it for this Cyber Dragon deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment on what you might want to see next. I'm going to be doing the Trap Trick Structure deck when that comes out, which is only a couple days away at this point. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and I will catch you in the next one. That's game.